The Interstellar Academy floated quietly in orbit above the silver-blue world of Varen. It was known across the galaxy as the most advanced place of learning for young explorers and soldiers. Every year, hundreds of cadets from dozens of planets arrived to train. They came from different species, different worlds, and different levels of strength. The goal was to create unity and courage among the stars. Inside one of the great lecture halls, the new cadets sat in silence. The instructor, a tall alien with glowing yellow eyes, stood before them. His voice was deep and steady as he spoke. Today, we will discuss the one rule every explorer must follow. Never step on a death world. A low murmur moved through the room. The cadets looked at each other nervously. Everyone had heard the word before, but few had seen what such a place truly meant. Deathworlds, continued the instructor, are planets so dangerous that life itself fights against survival. The gravity crushes ships, storms tear apart armor, and even the smallest creature carries venom strong enough to end a trained warrior. You do not go there. You do not explore them, and you never live on them. At the back of the hall, a young human cadet named Zara listened quietly. She had short brown hair and calm eyes that showed curiosity more than fear. Unlike others, she did not look away when the images of Deathworlds appeared on the large screen. The storms, the beasts, the heat and cold, all of it held her attention. Beside her, her alien classmate Rill leaned closer and whispered, "Do humans have anything like that on your world?" Zara smiled slightly. "Maybe depends on what you call dangerous." Rill blinked in surprise. "Your planet cannot be that bad." "You look too calm." Zara only shrugged. "We call it Earth." The instructor continued. "Some cadets think they can handle it. Some believe courage can save them. But courage means nothing when nature itself wants you gone. A death world does not forgive mistakes. It does not give second chances." Turned sharply toward the class. "You will all stay away from them." "That is an order." Cadets nodded quickly. Fear showed in their faces. Zara did not nod. She just watched, thoughtful and quiet. After the class ended, the cadets walked through the wide corridors made of shining metal and glass. Outside the transparent walls, stars sparkled like dust. Groups of students spoke in low voices, still shaken by the images they had seen. "I cannot believe any life can survive on those worlds," one said. "Maybe the stories are lies," said another. "I heard one death world has storms so strong they tear ships apart." Zara walked past them with her small data pad in hand. Her friend Rill followed, still curious. "Zara, you're home. It really is called Earth, right?" "Yes. Is it safe?" Zara laughed softly. Sometimes not. It depends on where you stand." Rill frowned. "I do not understand." She stopped and looked at him. "Earth teaches you to respect danger, but not to fear it. You learn to survive storms, heat, cold, floods, hunger, and even animals that do not like you. You learn to adapt. You make mistakes, but you keep moving. That is what it means to live there." Rill tilted his head. "That sounds like a death world." Zara gave a small smile. "Maybe it is, but we call it home." Later that evening, the cadets gathered at the mess hall. It was filled with the noise of different voices and languages. Each table was filled with cadets sharing food that looked strange to one another. Rill and Zara sat with their small group Lena, a medical trainee from the soft world of Valora and Tavo. A technical engineer from the cold moon of Sant Lena poked her meal with a spoon and looked at Zara. "Your planet sounds harsh. How do your people even survive?" Zara ate quietly before answering. "By learning. By adapting. We don't wait for safety. We build it." Tavo laughed lightly. "That sounds like a legend. No one could live on a death world and smile about it." Zara looked at him calmly. Humans smile in strange places. Their table went quiet. Even Tavo had no answer. That night, the Academy's halls were silent except for the hum of engines and the faint sound of machinery. Zara sat alone in the viewing deck, looking at the stars. She thought about her planet, the mountains covered in snow, the deserts stretching beyond the horizon, the storms that broke trees, and the wild oceans that swallowed ships. She remembered the smell of rain and the sound of thunder shaking her childhood home. To most, it would sound terrifying. To her it was life, she whispered softly. If they think that is dangerous, they have never walked through a human storm. The next day, another lecture began. This time the topic was about exploration routes and unknown planets. A hologram of uncharted worlds appeared in the air. Each was marked with colors that showed the level of danger. Green for safe, yellow for unstable, red for Deathworlds. One red world blinked brighter than the rest. Its name was Verdurani. The instructor spoke again. Verdura 9 was discovered last month. Its surface temperature changes violently. The storms are strong enough to destroy landing ships. The plants there are acidic, and the wildlife shows predatory behavior toward any moving object. It is officially marked as a death world. No cadet is allowed near it. Zara leaned back in her seat, watching the hologram closely. The planet was beautiful. Glowing clouds, deep green forests, and massive seas. It looked wild and alive, the instructor continued. The last research team sent, there never returned. We believe the planet is uninhabitable. A murmur filled the room again. Rill whispered that world should be left alone. Zara's eyes stayed fixed on the red glow of Verdara 9. Maybe, but I wonder what really happened. After class, rumors spread fast. Some said the lost research team had been attacked by creatures. Others believed the storms destroyed their base. No one really knew. Later, while walking down the corridor, Zara heard a group of cadets talking about her. Did you hear the humans' world might be a death world? No way. She looks too normal. I bet she is just pretending. Zara did not stop walking. She was used to people misunderstanding humans. It happened often. Most other species were born on peaceful worlds with mild weather and soft environments. They grew up under steady skies and safe lands. Humans were different. They came from a world that tested them every day. That difference made her proud. That evening, while everyone returned to their dorms, Zara stopped by the training hall. The room was empty. She began running combat simulations alone. The holographic walls created enemies of different kinds, beasts, drones, and storms. Her movements were fast and controlled. Every strike, every dodge, every reaction came naturally. When the simulation ended, she stood breathing slowly. Her body was calm, but her eyes were bright with energy. From the door, Rill watched silently. You train harder than most cadets, he said. Zara smiled at him. Where I'm from, you either learn fast or you don't last long. Rill hesitated before asking, do you ever get afraid? Zara thought for a moment. Fear helps. It keeps you awake, but it does not lead me. It reminds me to think. He nodded slowly, starting to understand. You really are from a strange world, Zara laughed. Maybe, but strange can be strong. The next morning, the academy sirens rang across every hall. The red emergency lights flashed. All cadets ran to the central hall. The instructors were already there, looking serious. One of them spoke loudly. We have received a distress signal. It came from Verdara 9. The lost research team may still be alive. Gasps filled the hall. The instructor continued, no ships are to enter the planet without clearance. It is too dangerous. The surface is unstable. No one is allowed to go. Zara stood among the crowd, silent but alert. The word alive echoed in her head. Someone was still there, waiting, surrounded by a world everyone feared. Rill leaned close and whispered, no one will go there. It is suicide. Zara looked toward the great window showing the stars in the red light of Verda 9 far away. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Sometimes danger is just a test, she said softly. Rill blinked. You cannot mean to. Zara turned to him with a small smile. We call it Earth for a reason. Her calm tone made Rill uneasy. The human was serious. The alarm continued to echo through the academy. The instructors called for order, but Zara's thoughts had already gone beyond the hall. She was not thinking about rules or fear. She was thinking about people stranded on a deadly world, and how her planet had shaped her to survive worse. She whispered to herself again, if no one else will go, I will. And with that quiet promise, The human cadet from Earth had already decided her path. The morning after the alarm, the Interstellar Academy remained tense. The news about Verderon spread quickly across every division. The instructors held emergency meetings while cadets whispered in the corridors. No one wanted to believe a signal could come from that planet. Verderonine was already marked as forbidden. The stories said no one could survive there. Zara woke early and stood near the large glass wall of her dorm. She looked out at the stars and the glowing blue curve of Veron below. Her thoughts were sharp and steady. Somewhere far away, people were still waiting for help. When she walked into the main hall, groups of cadets stood in circles, talking with low voices. She could hear their words as she passed. They are not going to send anyone. It is too dangerous. Even rescue drones do not last there. Whoever sent that signal is already gone. Zara stopped near a display board where mission alerts were listed. A red banner flashed across the screen. Verderonine, high risk, entry restricted. She stared at the words for a moment, then turned and walked straight toward the command center. Inside, several instructors were in discussion. Maps of Verderonine filled the room, showing storms and heat zones across the surface. Commander Torin, a tall alien with gray skin, looked up when Zara entered. Cadet. This area is restricted, he said firmly. Zara saluted. Sir, I request to join the rescue mission for Verdarni. The room went quiet. The instructors exchanged looks. Turan frowned. There is no mission, Cadet. Verdarani is off limits. Zara stood her ground. With respect, sir, someone sent a signal. That means someone is alive. We should go. Doran's voice became harder. No one can survive there. The last team had advanced gear, drones, and full support. The planet destroyed everything. Zara's voice remained calm. Maybe they were not ready for what the planet is. But humans are used to fighting the environment. If someone is alive, we cannot ignore them. The instructors whispered among themselves. Some looked curious, others doubtful. Torin finally said, Do you understand what a death world is, Cadet Zara? Yes, sir. It is a place where life itself wants to destroy you. You still want to go? Yes, sir. I was born on one. The silence that followed was heavy. Torin stared at her for a long time. Then he sighed. You are brave, Cadet, or perhaps you are foolish, but you will not go alone. If we approve this mission, you will have a team. I will choose them myself. Zara nodded respectfully. Understood, sir? That evening, the decision was announced. A small rescue team would be sent to Verderani. The mission was to locate any surviving members of the research group, collect data, and return immediately. All other actions were forbidden. When the names were displayed on the mission list, the Academy buzzed with surprise. Zara was on it, along with Ril, Tavo, and Lena. Many cadets whispered in disbelief. They are sending the human. She will not come back. Why risk a whole team for this? But Zara paid no attention. She focused on preparation. In the hangar, the rescue ship stood ready. Its hull was reinforced with heat shielding, and the engines were modified for rough landings. Ril checked his scanner while Tavo examined the thrusters. Lena packed medical supplies carefully. Ril looked uneasy. Zara, I still do not understand why you volunteered for this. The planet is alive in the worst way. Zara smiled faintly. That is what makes it worth understanding. Tavo shook his head. If this mission goes wrong, we will not have a second chance. Zara's eyes met his. Then we make the first chance count. The doors opened, and Commander Torin entered with a final warning. You will land near the coordinates of the signal. You will not explore further. You have 48 hours to complete the mission. After that, the storms will close the orbit window. The team saluted. Zara's heart beat steady as she walked toward the ramp. Inside the ship, the hum of engines filled the cabin. As they left the academy, stars streaked past the windows. The blue light of Varon faded behind them. Ahead lay a world wrapped in red storms and dark clouds. After several hours, Verdananine appeared on the main screen. The planet looked beautiful from space, glowing with green forests and silver lightning. But every reading on the scanner screamed danger. Radiation unstable, said Real. Magnetic storms ahead, added Tavo. Surface heat changes every few minutes. Lena noted. Zara looked at the screen and whispered, just like home. The others glanced at her, unsure if she was serious. The ship entered the atmosphere. Lightning danced across the hull, and violent winds struck them from all sides. The ship shook as alarms flashed red. Hold tight, shouted Tavo. We are going in rough. The shuttle twisted, struggling to stabilize. Zara gripped the controls and joined Tavo. Angle the nose 15 degrees down. Let the wind push us. Don't fight it. Tavo hesitated but followed her lead. The ship steadied slightly. The others stared in surprise. How did you know that? Real asked. Zara smiled calmly. Storms teach you things when you grow up around them. After long minutes of shaking and roaring, the shuttle finally broke through the clouds. They landed hard on rocky ground, surrounded by strange, glowing plants. The air was thick but breathable. The outside world looked wild and alive. Trees taller than towers swayed in the wind. The ground pulsed faintly, as if the planet itself had a heartbeat. Real adjusted his scanner. Signal detected 1.4 kilometers north. Then that's where we go, said Zara. They stepped out of the ship wearing protective suits. The wind pushed hard against them, and the air carried a strange metallic taste. The plants around them bent and moved as if watching them. Tavo muttered, This place feels alive. Zara replied, It is. Everything here fights to stay alive. Remember that, and we will be fine. As they walked, the terrain shifted beneath their boots. The rocks were not solid. They flexed slightly, like old roots beneath the surface. Real scanned again. There is movement underground. Something is following us. Lena looked nervous. What do we do? Zara knelt and touched the ground with her gloved hand. Keep walking, slowly. Don't run. Running makes things chase. The team obeyed. They moved carefully, one step at a time. The movement beneath them faded away. After some time, they reached a ridge overlooking a valley. In the distance, they saw a broken structure. Metal pieces from the old research ship half buried in mud and vines. Smoke rose faintly from one corner. Rill checked his readings. That is the signal source. Zara nodded. Let's move. They climbed down carefully, using ropes to cross gaps and avoid the sharp vines that moved like living wires. Every sound around them echoed as if the forest itself listened. When they reached the wreckage, the air smelled of burned metal. The ship's hull was torn open like paper. Inside, they found shattered equipment and a few scattered lights still blinking weakly. Lena called out softly, Is anyone here? A faint sound answered from deeper inside, a weak voice. Help. They froze for a second. Then Zara rushed forward. Inside a small compartment, a human man lay trapped under a metal beam. His suit was torn. His breathing was shallow. Zara and Rill lifted the beam together while Lena checked the man's pulse. He is alive, but weak. We need to get him back to the ship. Zara looked around. We cannot carry him through this terrain fast enough. We need a stretcher. Tavo started gathering pieces of metal and wiring from the wreckage. Zara helped him tie them together with suit cables. Within minutes, they had built a simple but strong stretcher. As they lifted the injured man, the ground suddenly trembled. Loud screeches echoed through the valley. The plants near the ship began to move. Their glowing vines stretched toward the group. Run, shouted Rill. Zara led the way, guiding the team back up the ridge. The vines struck the ground behind them, releasing sparks where they hit. One vine wrapped around Tavo's leg, pulling him backward, without hesitation. Zara turned and grabbed a sharp piece of metal. She sliced through the vine and pulled him free. The plant recoiled with a loud hiss. They reached higher ground and kept running until the movement behind them stopped. Everyone was breathing hard. Rill looked back. What were those things? Hunters, said Zara. The planet protects itself. They reached a small cave where they took shelter. Lena treated the injured man, while Tavo checked their supplies. Zara stood near the entrance, watching the strange glowing forest below. She could feel the planet's power in the air, wild, fierce, and alive. Rill walked over to her. "You handled that perfectly. How did you know what to do?" Zara smiled. "On Earth, nature does not give warnings. You learn to watch the ground, the sky, the sound of wind. It all tells you what is coming. You just have to listen." Rill looked out at the valley. "I think I understand now why you were not afraid to come." Zara nodded slowly. "Fear keeps us careful, not frozen." As the night fell, the sky above Verdanine glowed with green storms and red lightning. The team sat quietly inside the cave. The rescued man whispered weakly, "We thought we were lost." Zara replied gently, "You are not lost. You are found." The others looked at her, realizing how calm she remained, even in this place of chaos. Outside, the planet roared with thunder. But inside the cave, there was a strange peace. The human who had grown up on a death world had brought that calm with her. When the wind howled again, Zara looked toward the dark horizon and said softly, "This world is testing us. Let's show it what humans can do." The others nodded, ready to follow her lead. The real trial of Verdanine had just begun. The wind outside the cave never rested. It moved like a living force, whistling through the cracks of the stone and shaking loose dust from the ceiling. The small rescue team sat close to a portable heater. Their eyes followed the shadows dancing on the walls while the storm raged outside. The rescued man lay on a stretcher made of scrap metal and cables. Lena, the medic, finished checking his pulse. "His name is Dr. Cerrone," she said softly. "He has broken ribs and needs rest. He will not walk for at least a few days." Ariel adjusted his scanner and frowned. "The storm outside is getting worse. Radiation levels are rising. We cannot move until it settles." Tavo sighed and rubbed his eyes. "That could take hours or days. This planet changes faster than my tools can read it." Zara stood near the cave mouth, staring into the swirling green mist outside. Her visor showed data flashes of air movement and temperature spikes, but she focused on something else. She watched the pattern of lightning across the clouds, counting the rhythm. Rill noticed and asked, "What are you doing?" Zara replied calmly, "The storm has a pattern. If we learn it, we can move safely between its waves." Tavo shook his head. "That sounds impossible." Zara smiled slightly. "On Earth, we used to study storms this way. We could feel when they were about to strike." Rill tilted his head. "Feel it? How?" "Nature gives signs. The wind slows for a moment before the sky breaks. The sound of thunder has a tone that changes before rain starts. You just have to listen." They watched her quietly as she stood, still and focused. The storm flashed once, then twice. The rhythm she had counted stopped for a second, then began again. Zara turned back to them. "We have a window. It will calm soon. We can move then." Rill looked uncertain. "How can you be sure?" Zara smiled again. "Because I have seen storms like this before. Not on this world, but on mine." When the storm finally began to ease, the team prepared to move. They wrapped Dr. Cerrone in thermal sheets and secured him to the stretcher. Tavo checked his gear one last time. They stepped out of the cave into the open valley. The air was thick and warm, the clouds glowing faintly above. Around them, the plants had folded their leaves tightly as if sleeping. For a moment it almost looked peaceful. But Zara did not trust peace on a world like this. She looked down at the ground and noticed small cracks glowing faintly. "Stay away from these," she said firmly. "They look dry, but they are not solid." The team followed carefully. They moved through the valley, guided by Rill's scanner and Zara's instinct. Every few minutes, she stopped and studied the sky or touched the ground to feel the vibration. After a while, Rill asked, "Do you always do that? Feel the ground?" Zara nodded. "On Earth, many places shake before storms or quakes. You can sense danger before it arrives. It becomes natural after some time." Tavo muttered, "No wonder your people survived such a world." As they walked farther, they began to notice large claw marks on the rocks. Lena's eyes widened. What could make those? Reel scanned them. The readings match a creature the size of a transport vehicle. Tavo whispered, "If that thing is still nearby, we are not safe here." Zara studied the marks. The edges were old, dry. It passed here a while ago, but we should move faster. They continued through the uneven terrain until they reached an area covered in tall grass that glowed faint blue. The air here was calm, and the scanner showed lower danger readings. Tavo smiled in relief. Finally, a quiet place. Zara's voice was calm but alert. Stay close. Quiet places can hide loud surprises. As if her words had summoned it, the grass ahead began to ripple. A low vibration ran through the ground. Before anyone could react, the surface broke apart, and a creature rose from the soil. It looked like a mix of an insect and a reptile, 6 legs and sharp spikes covering its back. Its eyes shone like molten gold. It screeched and charged. Ril fired his pulse rifle, but the creature's outer shell absorbed the shots. Tavo grabbed a flare and threw it toward the ground. The light startled the creature for a moment, but did not stop it. Zara shouted, "Spread out. Make noise on both sides." The others followed her command, shouting and striking metal tools together. The creature turned from side to side, confused by the echo. Zara grabbed a broken metal pipe from the ground and struck it against a rock, creating sparks. The creature turned toward the light. She yelled, "Now!" Ril fired again, hitting the creature's softer underside. It screamed and retreated into the soil, vanishing as quickly as it had appeared. Everyone stood breathing hard. Lena's hands trembled as she checked if anyone was hurt. "Is everyone all right?" Tavo nodded. "That was too close." Ril looked at Zara. "How did you know what to do?" She wiped the dirt from her faceplate. "Many predators chase what runs. But if you confuse them, they stop thinking. Fear makes you loud, but planning makes you safe." Tavo stared at her. "You make surviving sound simple." Zara smiled lightly. "It is not simple. It is practice." They rested for a short time to recover. Dr. Cerrone had regained some strength and spoke weakly. "You are the new cadets, aren't you?" "From the academy?" "Yes," said Zara, kneeling beside him. "We came for you." Hush. He looked at her face through the visor and frowned slightly. "You are human. I remember hearing about your kind. They said your world is a dangerous place." Zara nodded. "That is true." The doctor sighed. "Then maybe this mission had a chance after all." After some rest, the team continued moving toward higher ground. The air began to cool, and the light turned orange. The sun of Verdara 9 was large and red, casting long shadows across the rocks. They reached a plateau that overlooked a wide plain. In the distance, they could see the broken signal tower of the research team's base. It was bent, but still flashing a faint light. Ril pointed toward it. "That must be the main base. If we can reach it, we can send a signal to orbit." Zara nodded. "Let's go before the next storm rises." They made their way down the slope, but halfway through, the ground began to shake again. Cracks opened beneath their feet. The earth split into small pieces, separating the group. "Hold on," shouted Tavo. Zara grabbed the stretcher with Ril while Lena tried to hold her balance. The ground under her gave way, and she slipped down a small ridge. Zara reacted instantly. She tied one end of her climbing cable to a rock and jumped after Lena, sliding down the slope. Dust filled the air. She reached Lena, who was holding onto a jagged rock with one hand. Zara caught her arm firmly. "I've got you. Don't move," Lena gasped. "The ground keeps breaking." Zara looked up. "Then we climb now." Using the cable and her strength, Zara pulled Lena upward while the others helped from above. Bit by bit, they made it to safety. When they finally reached the top, everyone was covered in dirt and sweat. Ril looked at Zara with respect. "You saved her without thinking twice," Zara answered quietly. "You don't think when someone is falling. You just act." The group walked again, moving slowly this time. By the time they reached the remains of the base, the red sun had started to sink behind dark clouds. The tower's light blinked weakly. Inside the base, the rooms were damaged but still held supplies. They found food packs, batteries, and old data drives. Tavo connected his tools and started downloading the data. "This has records of the research team's findings," he said. They were studying the planet's core. "It has strange energy patterns." Zara looked around the dark hall. "Maybe the planet is not only alive, but aware." Rill frowned. "You mean it thinks?" "Maybe not like we do," Zara said, "but it reacts. It defends itself. It feels when something enters its land. That is how nature works on my world too, just on a smaller scale." As they prepared to rest for the night, thunder rolled in the distance. The storm was returning. The base shook slightly as lightning lit the sky. Lena looked worried. "If the storm hits here, this structure may not hold." Zara walked to the window and watched the flashing horizon. "We will hold with it. We just need to move with its rhythm again."
Oh.
She closed her eyes for a moment, listening. The wind outside roared and then paused. The pause repeated every few minutes. She opened her eyes and turned to the team. "Every storm here moves like a heartbeat. When it slows, we move. When it rises, we stay." Rill stared at her. "You can really sense that." Zara smiled faintly. "On Earth, we learned to live under skies that could destroy us. If you stop fearing the storm, you start understanding it." Avo looked out the window. "No wonder your kind survived everything." Zara did not answer. Her gaze stayed fixed on the horizon. As the night grew darker, the team gathered around a small heater. Dr. Saren's breathing was steady now. He looked at Zara and said quietly, "You remind me of the explorers who first walked on unknown worlds. They were afraid, but they went anyway." Zara replied, "Fear means you care about what happens next. It keeps you alive." Outside, the storm began again, shaking the ground and lighting up the sky. Inside, the small team sat together, tired but united. Rill broke the silence. "If we make it back, no one will believe what we saw here." Zara smiled slightly. "They will not need to believe. They will see what humans can do." The thunder echoed across the valley like the growl of a living world. The team watched the storm, knowing the hardest part was still ahead. Zara whispered softly, "Tomorrow, we find a way out." And with that quiet promise, the human who grew up on Earth prepared to face the next challenge of Verduranin. The storm on Verdurine had grown worse. The sky was covered with thick gray clouds that flashed with green lightning. The wind screamed like a living creature, carrying dust and acid mist across the jagged rocks. The rescue signal from the missing research team grew stronger, but it was coming from deep inside a canyon. Zara stood on the edge, her eyes scanning the steep walls and narrow ledges that led down into darkness. Her team stood behind her, tired and nervous. Tavo checked the scanner again. He said that the signal was coming from 100 meters below. Lena looked worried as she said that the cliffs were unstable. Rill, the cautious alien, looked at Zara and asked if she still planned to go down there. Zara nodded calmly. She said that they had come all this way to save the researchers, and turning back was not an option. Rill said that the canyon looked deadly. The rocks were slick with strange glowing moss, and the air shimmered with toxic mist. Zara smiled a little and said that, on Earth, she had climbed cliffs during storms worse than this. The others stared at her, unsure if she was joking. But Zara had already started preparing ropes and gear. As they descended, the wind howled through the canyon. Stones cracked and rolled away, disappearing into the mist below. Rill moved slowly, afraid that the ropes would snap, while Tavo muttered about the strange heat rising from below. Zara led the way, checking every knot, making sure everyone was secure. Her movements were fast, but careful, like someone who had done this many times before. When they finally reached the canyon floor, the air was heavy and damp. The ground glowed faintly from strange plants that pulsed with blue light. The signal from the researchers' beacon was now very close. Zara motioned for the others to move quietly. As they moved through the narrow passage, a deep growl echoed around them. Tavo froze and whispered that something was nearby. The growl came again, louder this time. A large shadow moved between the glowing plants. Rill raised his weapon, but Zara signaled him to wait. She crouched down and studied the footprints on the ground. The marks were large and deep. The creature was huge and heavy, with claws that could tear metal. Lena whispered if they should retreat. Zara said that if they made noise or ran, it would chase them. Instead, she picked up a small rock and threw it far to the right. The creature turned toward the sound, and its glowing eyes flashed in the darkness. Zara whispered for the team to move quietly in the opposite direction. They slipped behind a large rock formation and found the mouth of a cave. Inside, they heard faint human voices calling for help. The missing research team was there, trapped behind a wall of fallen rocks. The passage had collapsed during a quake, and they were running out of air. Zara and Tavo started clearing the rocks, while Lena checked the team's health through a small opening. Rill stood guard near the entrance, but the creature's growls were getting closer again. Zara knew they did not have much time. She ordered Tavo to use the plasma cutter carefully. The noise would attract attention, but they had no choice. As the rocks began to give way, the ground trembled. The creature roared, shaking the entire canyon. Rill fired a warning shot, but it only made the beast angrier. Zara looked up and saw its massive shape blocking the cave entrance. It was covered in thick scales that shimmered with blue light. Its long tail whipped the ground, breaking stones like twigs. The creature opened its mouth, revealing rows of sharp teeth that dripped glowing saliva. The team froze in fear, but Zara did not. She looked around quickly, studying the cave and the terrain outside. Then she shouted a plan. She told Rill to aim not at the creature, but at the glowing moss on the canyon wall. She told Tavo to overload the plasma cutter and use it as a distraction. Lena was told to get the researchers ready to move as soon as the path was clear. The plan was risky. The moss on the canyon wall was flammable, filled with volatile gases. Rill hesitated, saying it might explode. Zara said that was the point. She told everyone to take cover behind the rocks. Then she counted down. Rill fired at the glowing moss. A burst of blue fire exploded across the canyon, lighting up the darkness like a second sun. The creature screamed and reared back, its body covered in flame and smoke. Tavo threw the overheated plasma cutter, and it burst in a shower of sparks. The cave shook. But the explosion disoriented the creature long enough for Zara and the team to free the trapped researchers. "Move now," Zara shouted. The group ran out of the cave, staying low as debris fell around them. The air was thick with smoke and glowing dust. The creature was thrashing in pain, smashing the rocks with its tail. Zara led the group toward the cliffs, using the chaos to escape. They climbed as fast as they could. The rope swung dangerously, and several times Rill almost slipped, but Zara grabbed him each time. Lena helped the injured researchers, guiding them up the slope. Below them, the creature roared one last time before collapsing, defeated by fire and exhaustion. When the group finally reached the surface, they collapsed on the rocky ground, gasping for air. The storm above them had started to clear, revealing patches of blue sky. Tavo laughed weakly, saying he could not believe they survived. Lena smiled and said that if not for Zara, they would all still be trapped down there. Riel looked at Zara with new respect, admitting that he had misjudged her. Zara sat quietly, cleaning her hands on her uniform. She said that humans were used to surviving things that wanted to kill them. On Earth, she said, there were storms, beasts, and disasters every day. People learned to adapt, to think fast, and to work together. When the rescue shuttle arrived, the crew looked at Zara in disbelief. They had expected a failed mission, but instead found all members alive. The commanding officer asked how she managed it. Zara simply said that she treated the planet the same way she treated her home, unpredictable, but not unbeatable. As the shuttle lifted off, Verderani's deadly surface grew smaller below them. The once terrifying planet now looked peaceful from above. The rescued researchers thanked Zara, saying that they had lost hope before she arrived. Zara replied that hope was a human habit. Even when everything looks impossible, humans keep fighting. Back on the orbital station, news of Zara's success spread quickly. The cadets who once doubted her now whispered her name with admiration. The instructors reviewed her mission logs and were astonished by her decisions. No advanced weapon or tool had saved the team, only human adaptability, courage, and instinct. That evening, Zara stood alone by the observation window, watching the planet below. The stars reflected in her eyes. She thought about how the galaxy saw Earth as a dangerous world, but to her, it was home. A place that taught her never to give up, never to fear the unknown, and never to stop learning. Riel joined her quietly. He said that he still could not understand how humans could live on such a wild planet. Zara smiled and said that humans do not just live there, they grow stronger because of it. The more the world tests them, the more they learn to endure. Riel nodded slowly, realizing that humanity's greatest strength was not power or technology, but resilience. The mission had changed everything. The Academy would soon rewrite its manuals, adding a new lesson: never underestimate the humans. As Zara looked at the stars, she wondered what other worlds waited beyond. Deathworlds, they called them. But for humans, such worlds were only another challenge. She whispered to herself that maybe one day the galaxy would understand. The stronger the world, the stronger the people it creates. And when others feared to step forward, humans would still laugh and say, "We call it Earth." The morning after the rescue mission, the Interstellar Academy was filled with quiet excitement. Screens across the halls showed the report from Verter 9. The footage of the mission played again and again. Cadets from every world gathered around to watch. They saw Zara leading her team through storms, battling the strange creature, and rescuing the trapped researchers. Many who had once laughed at her now stood silent. Some whispered that no one else could have survived that mission. Zara walked through the main corridor with calm steps. Her uniform was still marked with dust and burns, but her expression was steady. Riel, Tavo, and Lena walked beside her. The other cadets moved aside as they passed, not out of fear, but out of respect. The air around them felt different now. When they reached the briefing chamber, the high-ranking instructors were waiting. Commander Jor, an old alien with a silver crest on his head, stood at the front. His voice was deep and calm as he said that Zara and her team had completed one of the most dangerous missions in Academy history. He told them that Verter 9 was now officially listed as a confirmed death world. He looked directly at Zara and asked how she had managed to survive such a place with so little equipment. Zara replied in a simple voice. She said that she treated the planet like a living challenge and that humans had learned long ago how to live in danger. She said that fear was useful only if it made a person think faster. The commander nodded slowly, impressed by her calmness. The entire hall fell silent as the commander announced that Zara would receive the Stellar Medal of Courage. It's the highest honor for a cadet. The medal was rare and usually awarded to seasoned officers, not trainees. When the commander pinned the shining symbol on Zara's uniform, the cadets burst into applause. Riel, Tavo, and Lena smiled proudly. After the ceremony, the team was invited to speak about their experience. Many cadets asked questions. One wanted to know how Zara had learned to stay calm under such pressure. Another asked how she knew the creature would react to fire. Zara said that humans had spent thousands of years studying nature on Earth, learning from it and surviving in it. She said that when a person grows up in a place that challenges them every day, danger becomes a teacher. Some cadets still looked puzzled. One alien asked why humans chose to live on a world with so many threats instead of moving somewhere easier. Zara smiled and said that easy places do not make strong people. She explained that on Earth, humans face storms, earthquakes, volcanoes, and creatures that can kill, but they still build cities, explore oceans, and fly into space. She said that humans are not strong because the world is kind, because the world never was. The commander told everyone that the galaxy had underestimated humanity for too long. He said that humans might look fragile compared to other species, but they were the most adaptable life form in known space. They could survive cold, heat, hunger, fur, and still laugh while doing it. Later that day, Zara visited the Academy's garden dome. It was a peaceful place filled with flowers from many worlds. The air smelled clean and calm. Riel found her there, holding a small piece of glowing moss from Verter 9. He said he was still amazed that they were alive. Zara said that she was amazed too, but not because of the danger. She said she was amazed by how much they had learned about each other. Rill admitted that before the mission. He thought humans were reckless. He said he believed they rushed into danger without thinking. But now he understood that courage and care could exist together. He said that when Zara acted bravely, she always had a plan. Zara laughed softly and said that humans learned long ago that courage without reason is only foolishness. Tavo joined them, carrying a small device. He said he had repaired the data logs from their mission. Inside were recordings of every step they took on Verdaranine. He planned to submit it to the Academy archives so future cadets could study it. Lena walked up behind them and said that maybe one day, new cadets would learn from Zara's actions just as they learned from old legends as they talked. The sky dome above them showed the stars. Zara looked at the shining dots and wondered how many of those stars had Deathworlds orbiting them. She felt a strange excitement. To her, those worlds were not things to fear, but challenges waiting to be faced. The next day, Zara was called to the command deck. The commander was waiting with several high officers from the Galactic Union. They told her that her mission had caught the attention of the Exploration Council. They wanted her to join a new program that would train humans and aliens together to explore higher-risk planets. Zara listened carefully, then agreed without hesitation. The commander said that the galaxy needed explorers like her people who were not afraid of the unknown. He said that every great discovery had come from someone who dared to step forward when others stepped back. Zara nodded and said that humans had been doing that since they first looked at the stars. That evening, the Academy held a celebration. Music filled the air, and lights glowed softly around the hall. Cadets from every world gathered to honor the team. The rescued researchers were also there, healthy and grateful. When Zara entered, everyone stood and clapped. She tried to stay humble, but the warmth of the moment made her smile. During the celebration, Rill raised a glass and gave a short speech. He said that before the mission, he believed Deathworlds were places where life could not survive. Now he understood that such worlds were not meant to destroy life. They were meant to test it. He said that Zara had shown them that strength was not just in muscles or weapons, but in the will to adapt. Everyone cheered. The music played louder. For the first time since the mission, Zara felt relaxed. She watched her friends laugh and dance. The fear and exhaustion from Verdaranine were gone now, replaced by a quiet pride. Later, when the celebration ended, Zara returned to her dorm. She looked out of the window at the vast stretch of stars. The galaxy was huge, filled with countless worlds, some gentle and some deadly. She thought of Earth, the so-called Death World that had given birth to humanity. It was a world of storms and fire, of mountains and oceans, of danger and beauty, and yet it was home. Zara whispered to herself that maybe the galaxy needed to understand that humans were not born to hide from hard places. They were born to face them, learn from them, and make them better. The same spirit that had driven them to survive Earth had now taken them to the stars. The next morning, Zara stood on the Academy platform as the new mission ship prepared to launch. Her team was with her, again Rill, Tavo, and Lena. They had been chosen to join her in the new exploration program. The ship shone silver in the light, its engines ready. Before boarding, the commander gave her one last message. He said that wherever she went next, she should remember that humanity's courage had inspired the galaxy. Zara smiled and saluted. She said that courage was something humans never run out of. As the ship lifted off, the Academy students watched from the ground. The engines roared and light filled the sky. Zara looked through the viewing window at the endless stars ahead. She felt the same excitement she had felt when she first stepped onto Verdaranine, a mix of fear and hope, but mostly determination. Rill looked at her and asked if she was ready for another death world. Zara smiled and said that there was no such thing as a death world, only worlds that needed a human touch. The others laughed, but they knew she meant it. The ship flew through the dark of space, leaving the Academy far behind. Stars passed like sparks, and the vast unknown stretched ahead. Zara placed her hand on the console and said that whatever waited for them out there, they would face it together. In the end, the galaxy would remember this story. The tale of the human cadet who stepped onto a death world without fear. The one who proved that Earth, the so-called death world of humanity, was not a curse, but a gift. A training ground for survival, courage, and endless hope. And somewhere among the stars, Zara's voice would echo through history. They warned no cadet should step on a death world. The human laughed and said, "We call it Earth."